What you got there?
What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Julia is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon.
I don't know what's happening.
That's good acting.
Okay, that's good acting.
Do you have any bad acting?
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
To be or not to be?
I mean, Miramax is always making movies, so.
How do you like them apples?
How about those apples?
Yeah, how you like them apples?
How you like them apples?
Welcome, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Rotten Potatoes.
What's potatoes, precious?
Where we fry them up, we bake them up, we mash them up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Dr. Paul.
I'm Dr. Paul.
If this is your first engagement at our table, shame, shame, shame.
Shame. Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you.
Every Thursday we drop a new episode. We talk here about movies, just like you do. Father, son, boomer, millennial.
That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Drop in some wisdom, some opinions, talk about movies, all kinds of movies, horror movies, comic book movies, serious movies.
Good movies, bad movies.
That's true. Comic books we talk about.
A couple
talk about
times.
Models kind of thing. We just have a good time, and we hope you have a good time. You want to tell what this episode is about?
This is an episode that's about, we love to talk about the acolytes and the accolades of great films, and sometimes there's a movie that's just so darn rootin' tootin' good that it overcomes some bad, nay I say, downright abhorrent acting.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing today.
And fortunately, I came up with we should do an episode of bad performances in bad movies.
Oh yeah,
Because
there's a
there
bunch
was
of
a
them.
huge, and I think, I got one. And I'm thinking, but that's a horrible movie.
Yeah, it's like, that's a bad acting choice, but yeah, the movie's pretty bad too. There's one that I wanted to put on here so bad, but it's the same thing. It's like, they're not good movies, they're bad movies. So there's a difference.
Robert De Niro in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
I don't hate that one as much as a lot of people do.
Oh, well, we have on this episode, it's the 7. And you want to tell them what a 7 is?
The Light of the Seven? Oh, wrong. We're not on Game of Thrones anymore. The 7 is top 7 lists.
Yeah.
A list on a particular topic.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Do I know what you're going to say?
Nope, but you brought a helmet.
Son of a
So these are 7 movies, in my opinion, 7 movies where there was a singular performance that just really was horrible in an otherwise fairly good movie.
Mm-hmm.
All
I'd
right.
agree.
Well, do you want to start us off? First of all, we don't know what each of them are going to say, but in this episode, do you think we're going to have any overlap?
I think that there is, because I think that there's a movie that we both kind of
Yes.
put in our head that's in this realm, and maybe another one too, that showed up on a lot of lists. So probably at some point.
And it might be different in terms of whether or not I consider it in number 1, like the worst performance in, and so did you rate yours from 1 to 7? Was it based on how bad the performance was or how good the movie was? I overanalyze a little bit too much, don't I?
I think I did it in terms of how bad the role is.
I think
they're
I did.
all great movies, so it's like so 7 isn't as bad as 1 in terms of how poor the performance
Gotcha.
is.
Okay. All right. Well, kick us off. They can't wait.
No,
They're
some of them are going to be angry.
bated breath.
I'd be angry before if I had the Paul that thought of this idea or that was around when we thought of this idea would have heard my number 7. I would have kicked myself in the face, and that's going to be Lord of the Rings. Elijah Wood, Mr. Frodo Baggins. the farther I get from it and the more I watch it, and this is a film I watch quite regularly. It's something that I like to put this on when I'm editing or just doing something in the background. It's great. And it's just so darn, it's too British for me. There's just something I can't put my finger on it that's unnatural about it the farther I get away from it.
I have a confession to make. I seriously considered that from my list.
Okay, good. I feel a little bit better then.
But in the end, it was like, well, what is it just that doesn't resonate with me? And it was what you want to do in a good performance is you forget the person's acting.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of you see their real personality or whatever. And he's a little bit one note.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and first of all, you realize the whole movie is essentially people walking with a ring to drop the ring into a fiery furnace. You know, there's not much of a plot there to that. And I know there's a lot of things happens on that journey, but he is just sort of one note all the way through that. And
a lot of the other characters have arcs.
Yes. And he's not much of a stretch for him. So yeah, but in the end, I thought, is it enough to make the 7 for me?
And I think for me, what put it over was the fact that this is just such a good film series that it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's doomed a little bit by how good the project is overall.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. All right. I hope we haven't offended anybody already and they haven't turned us off because you just you trashed a childhood.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I know it is. You said it.
I said it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Said it's a 10 out of 10.
Who would you have played that role if it wasn't him?
I don't know. I've seen what they, like the ideas that they had for the characters originally that they tried to cast. And some of them were like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. So.
You just dropped your little boys, girls episode that you did. And I swear, as soon as I thought, I got to go back and watch this immediately. I love it. So, all right. My number 7 is a movie that I seriously doubt you've seen. And I seriously doubt maybe you even heard of it, although it is wildly popular. And it's Mickey Rooney's performance in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I've heard of it.
It is, you know, Mickey Rooney is. Yeah, he was huge in 40s. Andy Hardy, him and Judy Garland, and he, you know, just kind of a wholesome all-American. He played this. First of all, Blake Edwards was the director of this, the writer. He did Pink Panther movies. I think he did 10. So he was sort of known. He had a start in radio dramas and then film, and really humor was his thing. And Breakfast at Tiffany's was a Truman Capote book that they made into a film. Audrey Hepburn is in this, and Mickey Rooney plays Mr. Yanushi, and it is a Asian stereotype that as soon as you show the picture of this guy on the screen, I don't need to say another word. Because he's buck-toothed. It's a cameo performance, but it is genuinely one of the most offensive things I've ever seen in. And you can obviously tell it's a totally different time period.
It's going to be a victim of circumstance, you know.
You probably saw the scene in the movie. What's the Bruce Lee? Not Enter the Dragon, but it was his life story that was done.
Oh.
It was called Dragon.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene where he goes to the movie with his date, and that's the movie they're watching, and they show the scene of Mickey, and it's so offensive they just sort of got up and left. But it really not only is, and I'm not just saying just because he was an Anglo white American that was playing an Asian, which was common. John Wayne did that, but it was overacting to the point where it was embarrassing. It was a cartoon performance in an otherwise very clever sort of film.
Yeah, I mean it fits. It's good because I didn't see that one. So
I like dropping some knowledge.
A deep.
Yeah, we do a deep
cut.
dive. Oh yes, I swim in the deep end of the genetic pool.
Yeah, bring a snorkel. All right, number 2. So we badmouthed Peter Jackson.
Are you going to Star Wars now?
No, but I'll badmouth
Jar Jar.
one of my favorite directors, and it is Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, and it is Orlando Bloom's role in there. I saw this on quite a few lists as I started to look, but I had it on mine solid in there before I ever looked. He really does stick out. He can't pull off the sort of like somber nature of his character. He does sort of the Kristen Stewart Twilight thing where he just purses his lips constantly and then does like he just looks.
Was this after Lord of the Rings?
Yes, after
trilogy?
Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So this is when he was trying to be a lead. He is the lead in it, and he does a decent job at times. But anytime where it's more of the or less physical stuff. So anytime there's an action scene, he's wonderful in those. But it's when it's time to acting, when him and Ava Green have scenes together, you believe she would eat him like a Black Widow and spit him out again. He just doesn't have what it takes, and it misses the note for me. He's just not a good acting choice.
It wasn't on my list because I don't think I saw the film.
And they have a director's cut now out on Amazon, and it's like 45 minutes longer than the original feature.
Think it fixed the problem?
No, it didn't fix the problem. It made them all way worse. But it's like there's like 40 more minutes of like story that happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie. You know, it's a favorite film of mine, despite the poor acting roles. So I enjoyed it, but I don't know that anybody who's not liking this movie should go out and watch it. But if you're a fan of this and films of this sort of nature, then I would suggest go watching because it does get into the historical aspects of things with the Crusades more.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
It's a great movie, though.
good choice.
Crappy role.
All right. My number 6, Nicolas Cage.
In.
Well, let's narrow it down.
In.
I'll give you a hint.
Put the bunny back in the box. I knew I was going to say it.
Con Air. I mean, I like Con Air is what it is. Okay. It's an action vehicle. You know, it's a great sort of, you know, a pitch in Hollywood. You can see, you know, them sitting around the table. Oh, let me tell you the story here. These convicts on a plane.
At the
Con
end,
Air.
you know
Get
what?
it?
What if the plane crashes on Las Vegas Boulevard?
Yeah. It was you know, perfect 90s movie, 97. You've got John Cusack. You've got John Malkovich. You've got Steve Buscemi in this. Ving Rhames, for crying out loud. Great cast. And it is an action movie during that time period kind of stuff. He's my least favorite character in it. Physically, he's my least. The hair, kind of that whole looking Tarzanish kind of thing. It just didn't work. And I remember seeing it and enjoying it. The things I don't like about it, and the song at the end, it was a little bit melodramatic and syrupy, and you know that getting back with his daughter and his wife. I just thought, man, this would have been so much better if somebody the caliber, say, of a Keanu Reeves was playing it.
Keanu Reeves could have pulled off everything you just said too, because he could have the long hair. He would have been John Wicking it up. That would have been John Wick 1, the prologue, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a great movie too, and it holds up well. I've seen it not too long ago.
I did. I watched.
But he
it.
does. He sticks out like this, like a sore flipping thumb.
Yeah.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you look at the one that he did, the other one I think about, the Rock thing, much better. I mean, I love him.
I think that came out first.
I believe it did.
He was much more straight line. He plays like a scientist.
Yes, yeah, and I thought he's still the action chops kind of stuff. It just I don't know. I think it was, and I understand why they put him in it, and the movie did great, but it was my least favorite part about that film.
You don't like him very much.
I kind of don't.
I do. I like him. He's the dude.
Hivas, my boyfriend.
That was your number 6.
Yeah.
So my number 6. No, number 5 is my number 5. All right, this is 2 movies, but that's okay because it's a 2-parter, and that's going to be we're going to screw Peter Jackson, screw Ridley Scott. Screw you too, Quentin Tarantino. In Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, I think Uma Thurman is absolutely unwatchable. In
She's
those
the
films.
cover star of that movie.
Yeah, and they should have took her ass off the cover.
Oh.
She's just not. I don't know what it is. They're just something.
I
That's
can
a
see.
miscast for me.
I can see.
It's just. It all seems forced. I don't feel like she's that character whatsoever. And those are great movies too, but they severely hurt them and make them some of his worst films because I think he's just too caught up in casting Uma Thurman. I think there's so many better people that could have done that. An Unknown, He could have pulled somebody we've never heard of, and it would have been better.
Did you like her in Pulp Fiction?
No.
Hmm.
She's better, but I don't think she can act all that much, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she always sounds like she's taking a piece of gum out of her mouth when she talks. I don't know. It's like, stop.
You know who would have been good
Anybody else?
in that role? From Dusk Till Dawn.
Juliette Lewis?
Mm-hmm.
I could see it. She got chops. She can act.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. You know, I never thought of that. It's not as an endearing of a film to me in Tarantino's, in his entire canon, but I can kind of see what you're saying.
Mhm.
I can, now that I think
Because she's
about it.
such a big piece of it.
Yeah.
More so in the first than the second film, but she's the central character.
Yeah.
And the fact that this films I still think are good movies, just a testament to Tarantino and his
Yeah.
world building.
Yeah. All right. Well, good choice. All right. My number 5, Ben Affleck.
In
Let's kick.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I'll give you a clue. Animal crackers.
Armageddon.
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 Yeah.
Just getting warmed up.
Yeah. 1998. First of all, have you ever heard of the Razzies?
Mm-hmm.
I went back and I checked the database of Razzies for every single film that I have on my list, and not one of the characters, males or females, that are on my list wound up winning a Razzie.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, I mean, and no one you've mentioned so far.
But those are, I think, they are aimed more at bad films overall, aren't they?
Well, they have they do have the worst film, but they have the worst actor and worst actor.
But they tend to stay away from good films, I think.
Well, it's interesting you'd say that, because the Razzie that year for Worst Actor in 1998 wasn't won by Ben Affleck. It was won by Bruce Willis for Armageddon. Well, actually, it was a trifecta. There were 3 films he had that year, and he won Worst Actor for all 3 of those.
Okay.
So this is a Criterion Collection film. We've talked about this. Criterion Collection is supposed to be the greatest films in history, and they picked.
We
and
did
I
a verdict on it. That was
see-
our first verdict, I think.
Yes. So yeah, you talk about it. It is a killer cast that you've got. So you got Billy Bob Thornton, you've got Liv Tyler, you got Will Patton, and Bruce Willis. Obviously, the weak link in that entire film for me was Ben Affleck,
Mm-hmm.
and this trying to shoehorn him into a leading man. And then they did Pearl Harbor, which I did not like with
Nope, didn't care
him
for it.
at all. And the scene that just was unwatchable for me is with the animal cracker up her panties kind of deal. I just felt like every time he was on the screen, it was pulling me out. And I love Ben Affleck. There are films that he had in that I love.
I am a fan.
And I love his directorial stuff that he's done. I mean, he
Maybe
is,
more so.
yeah. But this one just did not work for me.
Yeah, that when that scene comes on, I want to commit suicide every single time. I'm serious. It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
It's just so out of place. It is the most shoehorned scene I've ever seen in my life, I feel like.
Yeah. I
Okay,
don't
we
know.
got this other Aerosmith song that we got to use. Which one is it? Oh, Stay Away. Okay, let's do this. Get out of here. All right. At least this time now I'm not bashing a really great director. And a lot of these, there's some issues with a specific type of accent. And this hurts even more now to say this because I just started watching Yellowstone, and that's going to be Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and that's Kevin Costner as Robin of Locksley. Great movie. Great movie. Terrible, terrible, terrible dial. It's not so much the cringy acting for him. It's almost solely because he butchers the accent in just the worst of ways. He sounds more like what's his face, Nicolas Cage in Con Air than a British person sometimes. It's not very good, but the film's so good.
I thought about it. And I even saw him on a list, but I've forgotten the accent. I don't think of that as, I mean, I think of his performance and the like, and I love it. It's a beloved movie, that time period where there was a whole range of movies, and it was Zorro and stuff like that. There were all these action, flicks. So, but I can see that. accents are really, really hard, and they can pull you right out of the film when it gets
Mhm.
into it. And how do you make that seamless so you forget the person, you forget the accent, and you just pay attention to the dialogue?
Because
and
there's
the
some
scene.
people that can do them really well.
Oh yeah.
And then there are other people that can't do them, and yet they get these giant roles, and you're like, what is happening here?
My observation is it's easier for someone that doesn't have that's not American born, that has a foreign dialect, to make those changes than it is for an American born with English to make that leap to somewhere else.
I mean, I could see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good choice. Good choice. All right. Well, we're getting into the meat of mine with
His
my number
favorite part.
my number 4, and that is Katie Holmes in Batman.
Begins.
Yes, and I'm assuming
You're just
talked
mad
about,
because she's young.
we talked about this when we saw the movie, that it just it was the wrong casting choice. She is young, and she's supposed to be the district attorney in
Assistant district attorney.
assistant, but trust me, aside, if that's New York, which that's a surrogate for
Yeah,
New
yeah,
York
yeah, yeah.
City, you are not going to do that. You're going to have to go work a whole lot of jobs and kiss a whole lot of butt to get to the point where you can have that job. And it's not somebody that looks like her. And just the performance for me was naive. And she was, a lot of times back in the 50s, there would be the female character, the wife, really's job was to sort of put an apron on and bake cookies, and
Mhm.
they didn't give them a whole lot to say. They really didn't give her a whole lot to do in this. So it's equally her performance and I think the script.
They forced her into this role because what they wanted to do is they want her to be the DA later without making her the DA now. And so what does she do in that time? A whole lot of absolutely nothing.
Is she on your list?
No.
I figured we had a daily double.
No, not on this one. I don't hate it as much because it's a smaller role in Batman Begins.
And it's a great film.
Yeah, great film. And I don't hate Maggie Gyllenhaal's version of it later as much. She has a little bit more to do. She's a little less obnoxious, but she is very obnoxious in that movie.
Okay. All right.
But no. That was your number 4.
Yeah.
Right. My number 3. My number 3 is a daily double, and that's Con Air. Because, yeah.
Who?
Con Air.
You picked Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
You love Nicolas Cage.
I do, but it's a terrible role.
Oh, man. So I stole your thunder, man.
No,
I
you
did.
can't steal my thunder.
Well, you were looking forward to
What's the character's name?
put the bunny back in the box.
Did you write the character's name down?
No.
You can't steal my thunder if you don't even have the character's name.
what's
His
his-
name was Cameron Poe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it is so stereotypical. Like they got this Texas Southern thing. And, I remember thinking about the Rock comparison. And the Rock was beforehand. So it was before he became this action star. And he's less known at this point. And after that, they had made the decision to make him an action star. And I think that's the big difference.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a great film.
Yeah. All right. So we had a daily double. I suspect that
He's sad about it.
my number 3 is probably also going to be a daily double. You might find it that it's my number 3 instead of number 1, and that is Sofia Coppola's Godfather Part 3.
Yeah.
We're going to spare you a long, watch every episode we've ever done in the
We
past.
talked about her a few times.
We have, because
We did The Godfather 3.
Just let me just say, I think I love her artistry. I love her director, what she's done. Her films are amazing. This just did not work
Nepotism.
for me. And it really, and I realized she was a fill-in at the last second, but
They should have
it-
waited longer and filled in somebody else.
it just did not. And so I don't want to beat that horse, because the internet's on fire, ever since that movie came out. So just suffice it to say, glad you survived, sister, and you're doing great things, fantastic things. But we're putting this one behind us.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be on mine. We don't know. We'll see.
Hold my breath.
It's so out of place in that film, too. So that was your number 3.
Mhm.
Number 2. Now, this is the one that I'm pretty sure is going to be on your list, too. And it's kind of what made me think about. And that's number 2 is Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. And it's a twofer. It's both Keanu Reeves and
Winona
Winona
Ryder.
Ryder. Because they're both terrible. Oh, my Jonathan. Oh, Mina. I love you. Totally, bro. Jonathan. Oh, Jonathan. Oh, John. It's just, that's the extent of the acting chops.
What
of
light
those two.
through western window falls?
Oh, they're so bad. I think you could CGI remove them from the movie and it'd be just as good of a film.
I just watched the film 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating, it's a box set. The special features on this I had never seen before, and they are showing how Coppola works with actors and the exercises that he put them in. So you see Anthony Hopkins, they're all in this big circle where they'll do something. They'll make a sound and they pretend like they're throwing the sound to you. So they'll go, zoop, and your job is to go, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody else go, blah, blah. And it's this whole that just goes on. And they do miming and all of this kind of stuff to prepare and get them loosened up. And it's very, very
I think I've seen some of it.
hallucinogenic,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
That I don't know how to handle this because you just did my number one and my number two because I broke them out by the number two was Winona Ryder and number one was Keanu Reeves, and I can't. We've busted on Keanu for a long time, and clearly that's why he's my number one.
Yeah. So you put So you think Keanu Reeves
Has a worse
is worse
performance than she does.
Mhm.
And it's not just the accents, because that's when I was watching it, I'm watching his facial expressions. And there's the scene where he is in that you have the brides of Dracula, and they're giving Dracula. He said, "Are we not going to get anything?" They've already pulled the brides off of him.
Mhm.
They're feeding on him, and they said, "There's nothing for us." And he gives a baby to them. His expression and his acting at that point was it just to me that's this, yeah, it wasn't. It has nothing to do with his accent. It's just his arrange. If you're paying attention to what they're doing, then it's not good acting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So he's number two for you.
he's my number one. She's
number two. Okay.
Yes.
Just so I can get it so you don't ruin the whole list.
Because I'm basically I got nothing else to say because
Yeah.
you just ding ding ding.
So my number two was Bram Stoker's. Your number two was also Bram Stoker's.
Yep.
Your number one's Bram Stoker's, and that would be Jonathan Harker.
Yes.
So we just went all that order. So I just go to my number one.
Yeah.
Which we've also covered.
So
to
we
this
didn't have a
point.
double, a daily double. We had a
daily triple.
triple.
'Cause my number one
Yep.
is Godfather 3. Because Sofia Coppola is the worst acting I've ever seen in any movie. Just The Godfather 3. I don't know if she does anything else. I'm not sure. But in that movie, dear Lord in heaven, if I had a handgun, I'd use it. It's just, I think the cellulite that the film's printed on wanted to jump off screen and commit suicide. It's the scene where they're rolling the pasta. I swear the pasta's trying to roll away from their fingers. It's just unbearable.
Do you think, in fairness, because that's the scene that I always go to, that turns my stomach? But part of the reason that turns my stomach is because you're talking about cousins.
Yeah, it just seems weird. There's a extra layer because it's the director's daughter, but it's also just because she shouldn't be there. You're not a good actress. I get it, she's a fill-in, whatever, but
And do you know who she's fill in for?
uh-uh.
Winona Ryder.
No.
Yes.
That's hysterically
Yes.
on point.
Yeah. Gosh. I'm surprised that Winona and Keanu weren't in Megalopolis.
Why? Is it just a collection of poor actors?
No, I don't know. Just bet that would have been something. So, yeah, I get you. I mean, again, we beat poor Sofia Coppola up so much. I hate.
And she still deserves it. That's how bad it is.
Virgin. Was it Virgin Suicide or Virgin Diaries?
Virgin
and then
Suicides.
There's, Lost in Translation. I mean,
I like Lost in
amazing.
Translation a lot as a film, but
Just amazing.
not
that
so much
was
the
not
other stuff.
And she did. So we got to say she filled in, and it was
It's not her fault. I think she was thrust into it by her father, probably more than anything. They should have just taken time and cast somebody else. It's too big of a role.
The good news is, though, that all of these films are still really good films. Some better than others. And so, yeah, it's one performance. Do you think one performance can ruin an entire film?
I think it can. It just depends on the size of the role within the film.
Yeah.
If you're a one character film, then yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
But an ensemble cast, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I had fun. Is this good for you?
It was all right.
It was good for me too.
It'd be better.
Yeah.
You didn't screw it up.
What'd I screw up?
I don't know.
Me either. So like us, subscribe us to us, send us gifts that, whatever, all the things that we
Money.
do on YouTube. Yeah. A new episode every single Thursday. And then of course you have What to Watch that drops every Sundays. Those come out. And then
Well, Monday. I think they come out Monday.
is it?
I do them on Sundays, where they're finished on Sunday.
Okay. Well, I see it, and I see the. I'm the actual brains behind all of this, so I get a chance to go in, and God bless him, he tries really
You
hard.
can tell by how much he knows.
So stick around and send us your thoughts, your ideas, your comments. We do really well with the kind side of the internet. We don't get a whole lot of flaming stuff and negative things, even though we can trash some folks like, Will Ferrell.
God, son of a bitch!
Kind of.
just couldn't pass it
He
up.
stopped sending Christmas cards 2 years ago.
So did Sofia Coppola.
Yeah. So otherwise than that, we would like to see you at the movies. Good movies.
Kill